I was 14 years old, and that night changed my life forever. I was a bit of a rebellious kid, always curious and ready for adventure. I had just gotten a new motorbike, and speeding had become my favorite thing to do. One day, my friend Gakon mentioned his parents were out of town, so we all jumped at the opportunity. There were about 8 or 9 of us, and we gathered at Gakon's house, ready to have the time of our lives. But that night turned out to be something none of us could have imagined. Everything was normal at first. We played loud music and started dancing. Everyone seemed happy, except for one person, Mustafa. Mustafa had always been strange, quiet, withdrawn, and hard to read. That night was no different. While we were dancing and laughing, he sat in the corner, silently watching us. What made it worse was the way he smiled, as if he knew something we didn't. I couldn't take it anymore. I walked up to him and said, "Why are you just sitting there? Come on, join us." He turned to me, his smile widening. "We'll have even more fun soon." I brushed it off and went back to dancing, and said something I'll never forget. About half an hour later, we were exhausted. We all collapsed onto the floor, laughing and trying to catch our breath. Then, Mustafa broke the silence with a suggestion that sent chills down my spine. Should we summon a ghost? The room went quiet. At first, none of us knew what to say. Then, curiosity got the better of us. "Let's do it," someone said. Despite a bit of hesitation, we all agreed. Kids and their fascination with the unknown, right? We searched online for how to summon a ghost. We lit candles, formed a circle, and followed the instructions. Everyone was serious, following along step by step, but nothing happened. That's when Erkan, the oldest in the group, stood up. "This is nonsense. Ghosts aren't real. Watch me make fun of them." Mustafa immediately reacted. "Don't. You'll bring trouble on yourself." But Erkan didn't care. He started yelling, mocking the ghost. That's when things got weird. Erkan suddenly fell to the floor. We froze. He lay there, his eyes wide open, staring blankly. Then he started pointing first at the door, then at the ceiling. Over and over again. Door, ceiling, door, ceiling. It was terrifying. We tried everything. We slapped him, shook him, called his name. Nothing worked. And then, out of nowhere, he stood up. His voice was calm. "I'm going to the bathroom," he said. We didn't stop him. When he came back, he was smiling. "You guys are so gullible," he said. We laughed nervously, thinking it was all a prank. But then, he started crying. Not normal crying, he was sobbing uncontrollably. He took a sip of water, then suddenly vomited. The liquid was black, thick like tar. And then, in a voice I didn't recognize, he said one word, "Run." We didn't wait to ask questions. We ran, Mustafa, Furkan, and I bolted out of the house, leaving Gakon behind with Erkan. None of us said a word. We just ran and ran, not daring to look back. The next morning, we regrouped. The first thing we did was go to Erkan's house. But his mom told us something chilling. Erkan never came home last night. Panic set in. We went to Gakon's house next. When we saw him, we couldn't believe our eyes. He looked pale, terrified, and broken. There were fresh scars on his back, deep and jagged. Erkan, on the other hand, was never seen again to this day. I don't know what really happened, but one thing is certain. That night, we opened a door we should have left closed.